Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. I'm Brooke Ivy for those of you who are new here. I'm an occupational therapist, parent coach, consultant, and I look to help parents create more calmness in their home, giving OT back strategies. So I was interviewed recently and I was asked why I created the Ivy Consulting Co. And this platform. So for me, it was a twofold situation, right? So I work in schools and I have been the past 12 years. And a lot of the times we have very busy, high caseloads. And there was a disconnect I was seeing between parents and the schools. So a lot of the times when I would go to IEP meetings, so IEP meetings are meetings that I would be a part of for children that have some type of diagnoses that have been identified to need extra assistance at school. So they get an IEP, and then what happens, I assess if we feel necessary or if there's a request, and if that child has been determined to have it, then I attend their yearly meetings, do 3-year meetings where they're reassessed and so forth. So in those meetings with my students, I would see a disconnect. You know, we would report the students' progress, and maybe I'll say, oh, your child can do this, that, and the other. And the parent may have looked at me in total disbelief or shock, right? Like, is this the same child we're talking about? Like, who are you talking about? So I would see that disconnect, right? A lot of parents would ask questions as far as, well, who works on executive functioning? And I have explained it in my previous video, but basically your executive functioning happens in the front part of your brain, right? It's the last part to develop as you get older up until being a young adult. And it's the part of the brain that helps us focus, work on impulse control, starting, stopping routines and tasks, transitioning between tasks, staying organized, and those types of functions. And so a lot of parents are like, well, they go home and, you know, they melt down, or they want me to do everything, or they have struggled with being independent. And typically it's a breakdown of those skills, right? And so parents were just asking, you know, what is going on, what's happening. So I felt like, you know, I wanted to be that bridge. Given that I have the background, I work with kids in school, I wanted to also be able to offer support for parents who, and even if your kid doesn't have a diagnosis or receive extra support in school, these could be things that, you know, typical developing kids could have issues with as well. Also, there was a time period of my life where things got very chaotic because, as people say, life will life, correct? So I have an 8-year-old, and at the time, he was about 4 going on 5. And, you know, it was a recent split up between his dad and I. Other things, my mother got a chronic diagnosis. I had lost my grandfather almost a year before. And there were just a lot of challenges going on. You know, just that transition from single, being, you know, in a 2-parent household, to them being in the household with my son when he was with me. And I just saw our routines start to vanish. And I saw the impact that it had on my son, which is why I preach to parents. You know, we have to make sure we are focusing on regulation, providing clear routines for our children, and maintaining our own regulation so we can help our kids. And at the time when I was spiraling, you know, it directly impacted my son, and I could see that same spiral in him. So, I wanted to create this platform because it came from a personal place, but also, from a clinical background, from my professional job, just seeing, the struggles that a lot of parents were having, the questions that I was getting, and I wanted to think about how I could use my brain and what I know to support and help other parents. Parenting is probably the hardest job that you'll ever do. I have to say that. And I've worked a lot of jobs in my day. I started working at 15. I always kept some type of summer job up until I graduated, and I've worked multiple jobs at once, even still, now. So, but even in that, parenting is the most difficult job that you will ever do, but it's so very important, and you only get one shot. So I'm here to support parents. I'm particularly, maybe not partial, but I speak to moms because, right, that's the lens I look at parenting from. But this is for moms, dads, stepdads, stepmoms, grandmoms, whoever. It takes a village, right? It takes a village to raise these children. So I hope that you will like, subscribe, and share, and come back here because I will be posting weekly tips and strategies you can use. I welcome your questions. I welcome your feedback. Welcome here. Welcome, welcome, welcome. And I hope I can be a part of your village. Look at me as an additional person to your village, and yeah, come back and visit. Have a good one.